They say the Blackbridge Hotel has been abandoned for over 50 years. Its windows broken, its doors locked, its hallways left to rot and gather dust. But last night, someone swore they saw a light flicker in one of its windows. Nobody believes the stories, the whispers of screams echoing through locked rooms, of guests who checked in but never checked out, of laughter drifting through the night when the wind is still. People say those stories are just urban legends meant to scare kids. But I know they're true because I was one of them. And if you're hearing this, it's already too late. Blackbridge City was alive, or at least it used to be, a restless metropolis that thrived on chaos and neon lights. But there are streets in Blackbridge you don't go to after dark, alleys that even the police avoid, and a district everyone pretends doesn't exist, the Forgotten District. That's where the hotel stood like a corpse, towering and silent, and that's where I first saw her. I had been driving my cab for over 12 hours straight. It was a slow night, unusually slow. No drunk tourists stumbling out of bars. No late-night workers trying to get home. Just silence. I parked under a flickering street lamp and rubbed my tired eyes. That's when I saw her. She was standing perfectly still under a broken lamp, wearing a long white dress that clung to her thin frame. Her black hair hung forward, wet and stringy, though there hadn't been any rain. She didn't wave me over. She didn't move. She just stood there, like she'd been waiting for me all night. Against every instinct screaming at me, I rolled down the window. "Hey, you all right? Need a ride?" I called out. Her head tilted slowly, unnaturally, and she whispered, "Yes." The sound was so soft, I barely heard it over the hum of the engine. She opened the back door and slid in without saying another word. The air in the cab immediately felt colder, and a smell drifted in with her. A damp, earthy scent, mixed with something metallic. "Where to?" I asked, forcing a smile. She gave me an address I didn't recognize, but the GPS confirmed it was real. As I started driving, I noticed the city changing. Streetlights became fewer, the buildings older, graffiti peeled from cracked walls. Stray cats darted under rusted cars. The closer we got, the heavier the air felt. "Not many people out here," I said nervously, hoping she'd respond. She didn't. She just stared out the window, her pale reflection staring back at me. Finally, the GPS beeped. "You've arrived." I looked up, and there it was, the Blackbridge Hotel. It stood like a monument to decay, its sign half-broken, windows boarded up, doors rusted. Even in the dark, I felt its presence, like it was watching us. "You live here?" I asked, half-joking. "Not anymore," she whispered. Her voice was so faint, it felt like the words weren't meant for me. She stepped out of the cab, her white dress glowing faintly in the dim light, and walked toward the heavy doors. Something deep inside me screamed at me to leave, but curiosity won. I turned off the car, grabbed my phone, and followed her. The doors creaked open with a groan that echoed like a dying scream. Inside, the air was thick with dust and decay, so heavy I could taste it. The grand lobby was a graveyard of forgotten wealth. Furniture was covered with white sheets, like bodies laid out in a morgue. The chandelier hung crooked, cobwebs hanging like torn lace. I swallowed hard. "Hello," I called out, my voice echoing in the emptiness. No answer. Then faintly I heard it, a piano. Soft, haunting music drifting through the silence. I followed the sound, each step crunching on shattered glass. The music led me to the ballroom. Moonlight streamed through a hole in the ceiling, illuminating an ancient grand piano at the center of the room. Sitting at the piano was the woman, her back to me, her pale fingers dancing gracefully over the keys. "Miss," I whispered, my voice trembling. She stopped playing. Slowly, she turned her head. Her eyes were black. Not dark brown, not shadowed. Black. Two endless voids staring back at me. My breath caught in my throat. She rose from the bench, her movements unnaturally smooth, and whispered, "You shouldn't be here." The lights flickered violently, and suddenly the air turned icy. My breath fogged, the temperature dropping so quickly it hurt to breathe. I backed away, heart pounding, but the ballroom doors slammed shut behind me with a deafening bang. I spun around, panic clawing at me. That's when I heard it, a laugh. Low, hollow, echoing through the room. Shadows crawled along the walls like living things, stretching toward me with spindly, claw-like fingers. "Why are you doing this?" I screamed. The whispers started then, hundreds of overlapping voices, some screaming, some crying, some laughing, all pressing into my head like nails. I bolted, sprinting through the ballroom and crashing through a side door into a hallway that stretched endlessly. I ran, trying every door I passed, but each one was locked. Finally, I found a staircase and scrambled up to the 4th floor. The smell was worse here, mold, rot, and the sharp metallic tang of blood. The hallway was lined with numbered doors. 401, 402, 403, then 404. The number was scratched out, deep gouges marring the wood like claw marks. The whispers grew louder, more insistent. Then, a voice behind me, soft and chilling, "Open it." I spun around, heart hammering, but no one was there. Against every instinct, I turned the knob. The door creaked open, revealing a room that felt alive. The walls pulsed as if breathing, the floor slick with a black, sticky liquid. And there she was, the woman in white, but she wasn't human anymore. Her limbs were too long, her head twisted unnaturally, and her smile stretched impossibly wide. "You brought me back," she hissed. The shadows surged from the walls, and I turned to run, but every hallway twisted and shifted. Every staircase vanished. I was trapped. My phone buzzed. One notification. A message from an unknown number. "Room 404. "No," I whispered, tears stinging my eyes. The lights flickered, and suddenly, I was back inside room 404. The woman stood inches away, her black eyes boring into me. "You followed me," she whispered. "Now you belong to the hotel." The walls melted away, revealing a ballroom full of life. Chandeliers glowed bright, dancers twirled in elegant gowns, and laughter echoed through the air. For a moment, I thought I'd escaped, but then I saw their faces. Blurred, distorted, eyes glowing faintly. A man in a crimson suit stepped forward, smiling. "We've been expecting you, Mr. Cole." My heart froze. "How do you know my name?" I shouted. "We know all our guests," the man chuckled. "And we never let them leave." The dancers stopped and turned toward me. Their faces melted, revealing empty skulls. The laughter distorted into inhuman screeches. I shoved through the crowd, desperate to escape, but every door led back to the ballroom. The woman's voice whispered in my ear, "You're part of us now." Desperation surged through me. I grabbed a chair and hurled it at a window. The glass shattered, and cold air rushed in. Without thinking, I jumped. I expected to fall to the ground, but instead, I landed back in the hotel lobby. The woman stood at the top of the stairs, smiling. "You belong here," she whispered. Shadows poured from the walls, wrapping around me like chains, pulling me into the darkness. I screamed, clawing at the floor, but it was useless. The last thing I saw was her mouth opening impossibly wide, black smoke pouring out, consuming me. Weeks later, a taxi drove through the forgotten district. The Blackbridge Hotel stood silent, its windows dark.